Greetings, Python coders. This is once again Alan D. Moore, and I'm still the author of Mastering GUI Programming with Python, a book that will tug on Superman's cape, spit into the wind, pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and even dare to mess around with Jim in the name of teaching you PyQt5. Available from Amazon or directly from the publisher PyQt Publications. Up until now, we've been creating our GUIs by subclassing QWidget, just building everything directly onto that widget and making that our top-level window. And that works okay for smaller forms and simple applications. But today, I want to look at a class that gives you a little bit better base to start building on. So to do that, we're first going to take a look at CuteDesigner. Now, we're not going to be working in CuteDesigner today. We're not going to be creating our GUI there. I just want to actually look at CuteDesigner's interface. So the first thing you see when you look at CuteDesigner is this kind of main working area right here in the middle. And that's where you can, create a new form and move things around and work on it here. This is just kind of our main workspace right in the middle. Okay, around that workspace, you see some other things. So up at the top, we've got these menus. So this is called a menu bar. And you can see the menus are hierarchical. Sometimes there's submenus within submenus. Some selections open dialogues, and you can tell that by the little dots. Some items you can actually check a box, and that saves. And a lot of the items have these keyboard shortcuts next to the name. That is a menu bar. Now, if you're on Mac OS or certain Linux desktops, you might have what's called a global menu, in which case this menu bar is located up here in your top panel. But that is still the same menu bar. It's just a little bit differently laid out. Under the menu bar, we have these icons. And actually, these icons are on little panels that we can drag out and move around the application. And we can actually reattach these on the sides or on the bottom. We can reattach them on the top. We can attach them in different orders. These things are called the toolbars. And they're mostly just push buttons. You can see these are all just buttons with icons. And we have a menu that we can even hide or show different toolbars. Sometimes a toolbar might have a drop-down menu in it. Sometimes it might have a line edit where you can type in. Mostly it's just these buttons, these icon buttons. So the third thing you'll notice, or fourth thing I guess, these big complex widgets, they're kind of like toolbars, but they contain more complicated forms. But we can also move these to different areas of the screen, or we can let them float around. And they're like toolbars, like I said, but they're more complicated. We can hide them all. We can actually bring them back, redock them. Okay. These are known as dockable widgets or dock widgets. The last thing is this strip along the bottom, which is blank right now, but occasionally you will see text messages showing up here, telling you things that are going on in the program. Sometimes if you get an error, or if there's results from some job or task that you've run, that'll show up here. That is known as the status bar. So to review, we have the menu bar, and there's only one menu bar, by the way. We have multiple toolbars. We have multiple dock widgets, or dockable widgets. We have the status bar, And then we have our main workspace in the middle. That is basically the anatomy of a QMainWindow. CuteDesigner, of course, is written in Qt, not PyQt, but in Qt with C++. And it uses the QMainWindow as its main framework. So today we're going to make our own simple application using QMainWindow, and we're going to see how all those components work. All right, I'm here in my code editor, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my Qt template. So this is the template we've been using for apps. Let me turn off this code checking real quick. It's kind of annoying. This is the same template we've been using for apps with one critical difference. Instead of subclassing QWidget here, we're subclassing QMainWindow. So inside we're going to start our application. All right, the first difference that you're going to see is instead of setting up a layout, which we will not be doing, we're going to set something called a central widget. Okay, so that main workspace that we saw in CuteDesigner is what we call the central widget in a QMainWindow. And that can be any widget. Most of the time it's going to be some kind of Q widget, or maybe a stack widget, or a notebook widget, or something that you can add lots of other things to, build a complex interface on. In this case, we're just going to use a text edit. We're going to set that as our central widget. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Oops. And as you can see, we basically just have a floating text edit. All right, nothing fancy. It does have its nice copy, cut, paste functionality all ready to go, but we don't have any of our menu or toolbars or anything like that. So let's get back here and let's start adding that stuff. Let's start with the menu bar. To create the menu bar, all you really have to do is call the menu bar method. Okay, that immediately will create the menu bar, and there can be only one menu bar. And once we've added the menu bar, we can add menus to it. We'll start with a file menu. A file menu is a pretty typical menu to have in any application, especially on Windows and Linux. Mac kind of has its own standards for how these menu bars should be laid out. That's a whole topic in itself. What this method does is it actually returns an object of class QMenu. So we want to save that returned object. We can then add to the menu an action. Okay? So, just to be clear, this method returns a QMenu bar. This method returns a QMenu. And this method returns a QAction. Okay? So let's go over to our terminal. Oops. Let's run that again. And as you can see, we now have our menu bar. We have a file menu, and we have a save option. Doesn't really do anything yet, does it? We'll get to that in just a second. We'll go ahead and add open. Actually, open usually comes before save. And then we can add to our menus a separator, which is just a line that separates the items. And now we'll add a quit action. Now, to actually make the actions do something, we have a couple of different ways we can do that. One is that we can pass in a slot or a callable of any kind into that second argument. So let's see that in action. If I go here to File and Quit, it closes my application. Okay. Other way we can do that is we can save the action that is returned by this add action call. And we can connect something to its triggered signal. Okay, so if we need to create that method. We'll just make that pass for now. Okay, but it's far easier to actually just pass in that second argument. There's also a way you can just create a Q action explicitly and add that. That's a lot of trouble, and you rarely actually need to do that. In most cases, you can just do it this way. You can just pass that in as an option. All right, so rather than bore you guys with my typing, I'm just going to paste in an open file function. Pretty simple. We're using a QFile dialog to get a file name. If we get a file name, we're opening it, reading it. We are clearing the text edit, inserting the text, moving the cursor back to the beginning. And then, we're going to show a message in our status bar that we are editing this file name. So this shows you right here, I guess we're skipping ahead a little bit. This shows you how the status bar works, okay? So we'll jump into that real quick. The status bar also is a unique item, just like the menu bar. And we can actually grab an instance of it, but one is created as soon as we call this status bar function. So that's usually not necessary. We can just kind of call this function whenever we want to do something with the status bar. And usually what you want to do is say show message. Okay. You can also pass in an optional number of milliseconds to show the message so that it'll automatically clear after that amount of time. All right. So let's run that real quick. All right, you notice it says welcome to my editor, and it goes away. Okay, let's try opening a file. Just got a little text file here. Let's move this up to where you can see it. A little bigger. All right. Okay, and just real quick, through the magic of editing, I'm going to paste in this save file method. All right, so again, we're just grabbing the plain text out of the text edit, prompting the user for a file name. If we get a file name, we're opening the file in write mode. We are writing that text and then showing a status bar message that we saved it. All right. Got our actions all connected up there. All right, so let's see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to say ha 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 ha. We will save that to laughing.txt. Message saved. Let's open it. Good, we have our file. Okay, so that shows you the status bar. Pretty simple. And it shows you how to use the menu bar. Also fairly simple. Now you can do a lot more with the status bar. You can add widgets to it, for example. And I go through a lot of that in my book. I'm not going to go through that in this video. That's something you can look up on your own, because most of the time you're not going to need that. You might do something like that in an advanced case, but probably not very often. Next thing we're going to talk about are the toolbars. Unlike the status bar and the menu bar, you can have multiple toolbars. And to get one, you use what we call the add toolbar method. So self add toolbar, and you have to give it a name. All right, we'll call this one edit. And this is going to return a QToolbar object, which we want to save. So we'll call that edit toolbar. All right, now to actually put things on the toolbar, we call it add action. Just like with a menu, we use add action. We can do a few things here. We can pass in a Q icon if we have one. But that's a topic I don't want to get into yet, because that'll send us off on a rabbit trail. I want to stick to mostly just talking about the main window today. So we're just going to use text labels. So let's have copy. And then just like with adding a menu action, we can give it a callback. In this case, we're going to use text edit.copy. And we're going to do the same for cut, paste, undo, and we'll have redo too. So all these copy, cut, paste, undo, redo, these are all slots on the text edit. We don't have to implement that ourselves. All we have to do is create our actions and just connect them to those slots. So let's run our app again. All right, and now you can see we have got our toolbar, and we can swing that around just like we could in CuteDesigner. We can type something, ha 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 ha. We can copy it, paste it, cut it, undo, redo, undo, redo, undo, 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 undo. Good. That's the toolbar. Okay, let's talk about the dock widget. Now the dock widget is a little different to set up than some of these others. There's a few more steps. The first thing we're going to do is go up to the top, and we're going to create a search widget so that we can search for strings in our text. So I'm going to do subclass, oops, there we go. We're going to call it search widget. We're going to base it on QWidget. Autocomplete is fighting me here. All right. All right, so we'll add to this widget a signal, much like we did in a previous video when we were communicating between a dialog and the main window. We'll call it submitted. And it will will send our search term and whether or not we want it to be case sensitive. We'll create a callback for the push button. And we'll grab the term. It will get the case checkbox. And to do this, by the way, we have to check the the check state property against a constant from Qt core, and that is checked. Okay, let's clean this up a little bit. Oops. All right, good. So then we will emit our term and our case sensitive. All right, now that we've got our search widget class, it's time to create our dock widget. So we'll call this search dock. And we create a QDock widget. We give that a name of search. The next step we need to take is we need to create our search widget. And we need to add that search widget to the dock using its setWidget method. Notice it's setWidget, not addWidget, because there can only be one. All right, and finally, we call our application's addDockWidget method. And we have to start out by passing in a dock widget area, which is a constant from the Qt namespace. So we're passing in QtCore.Qt.WriteDockWidgetArea. That's telling Qt that we want this dock widget added on the right side of the application. We could have chosen left, top, bottom, but this is where it's going to start out on the right. And we're going to tell it to add the search dock. All right. So let's bring that up. And there you see, we have our search box. Okay, good. So once again, through the magic of editing, I am going to pause for a second and paste in a search function. Okay, here is our search function down at the bottom of our main window class. As you can see, it takes a term and a Boolean indicating whether we want case sensitive. If we want case sensitive, we call the text edit's find method using our term and this constant find case sensitively. It's going to be sensitive about how it finds that case something. Otherwise, we just send our term to the text edit and by default it's case insensitive. And if we don't get any results, this will return a false, in which case we want to tell our status bar again to show a message that no matches were found. Okay, so then back up here, we need to do one more thing. We need to connect our search widget submitted signal, self.search. All right, let's run that. Drag this to the middle. Let's go ahead and expand this guy out. Let's load in some good literature here. And we're going to search for QWERTY. And we're missing something. I have a feeling I know what it was. Let's go back up here to our search widget and let's actually connect our push button. Some of you were probably screaming at the screen for the last 5 minutes. Clicked equals self.on submit. There we go. Actually connect your signals to your slots. Things work a lot better. All right. Once again, load in some great literature. We had a goblin in there that we had to get rid of there. Let's search for QWERTY. There he is. We'll search for king. Let's do it case sensitive now. And it only finds lowercase king. All right. So there you go. That is a basic text editor using a menu bar, toolbar, a dock widget, and a status bar. Hope you found that educational. I will be posting this code online as well as a more complete version of this text editor that shows you a few more things. Again, if you really want to go in depth, I do highly recommend picking up a copy of my book. In our next video, I think we will look into maybe that Q icon thing and working with images and graphics just a little bit. Hope you enjoyed this. Please do feel free to ask questions or suggest future videos. And God bless.